All right then. I clap.
Clap. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back to SuryaCast. Today, we're going to talk to a lawyer, our friend. It's Rohit is in the house, Pranshu is in the house, and this is Soumya. And we will be talking about, well, what it means to be a lawyer, what is law, in fact. And we're going to catch up with her because it's been a very long time since we've actually caught up with regards to how our lives are. We've gone to different lives, after we've
Basically, she's also one of our friends from Vidyaranya who,
yeah, she is.
yeah, same class.
So right off the bat, why did you want to become a lawyer, or how did you go about choosing law as a career?
So I didn't have any dreams like how people have, like how we were talking about that, I want to be a author, I want to be an astronaut. It was never something like that. I just knew that after inter, I can't do medicine, I can't do engineering, and I wanted to do something that opened up a lot of scope, where there's actual reading, studying going on. And I just gave the law entrance exam, and yeah, I got through, and I did my 5 years LLB course. There's a funny thing about my law entrance exam, which I'll tell you like at the end of this, like a really funny part, what happened. Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be interesting. Uh, could you just give us a hint as to what was so funny about it?
Something related to the exam, to the entrance exam. I can actually tell you right now. So
No,
We'll put it
actually,
for
we'll
later.
put it for later.
We'll put it
Let's
for
do
later.
that.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
terms of the degree, right, law degree itself,
yeah.
so are there different types of degree in law itself? How is it?
Yeah, you have like different types of qualifications. Like I did the 5 years BLLB honors, and that is what you do immediately after your plus two or your intermediate. And then you can, a lot of people do their 3 year program also, which you do after your graduation. So you have to be like a degree holder or any graduate. Like even you guys can do an LLB now, and it's a 3 year course. So I did an integrated program, which was BA LLB honors.
That was for
And
5 years?
yes, and there are courses that have BBA LLB honors, and they have BSc LLB honors as well in some universities.
Hmm. And there's no age limit, is what I'm, because my aunt who was 50 years old suddenly decided that she wanted to study law,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
can do it.
And this seems to be a recurring thing where people suddenly have this urge to study law of all things.
So there is somebody who I know, who, that lady's whole family are lawyers, like her husband, her son, and she had studied zoology or something, worked and retired, like she was in that field. And then she decided to study law. She passed the bar exam, and she is practicing law now.
Okay. And how is this bar exam? The entrance to this law degree is bar exam, right? So how is the bar exam like? How do you prepare for it
So,
and such?
the main thing about, everybody thinks that a lawyer should remember sections and acts and everything.
And
Yes,
Constitution of India.
yes, but it is impossible for anybody to know things page by page. Yeah, like it is ridiculous. So when somebody comes to you, like very very practical way, where somebody comes to you with an issue or a situation legal, you should know where to look first,
Okay.
right? It
Yeah.
can't be ki A to Z. You should know where to look for and what is required, what is relevant to that. So the bar council exam also that we have is a very simple exam for some people and very difficult for some people. So it's simple for those who know which bare act to look at, what to look at, and how to interpret what you're reading. So we also have a subject called interpretation of statutes that we study. Yeah.
So one thing that I have want to understand is if there's any viewers who want to know if they're good and their skills align with doing law, like what kind of a skill would one need to have to be successful in law, or at least would be happy or interested in doing this kind of subject? So for example, people are like, if you have analytical or logical skills, you should be an engineer or something like that. If
Yeah.
people are like, if you have good language skills maybe, or oratory skills, should
Yeah.
you actually go into law because you have to argue? Because the traditional cliched approach that people have is a lawyer who's in court and is talking
Yeah.
in courtroom dramas. So
Yeah.
if you would dispel some myths with regarding
So,
something of that kind, it'll be great.
One thing is, there are a lot of people who can talk English and are very good with their oratory skills, but they don't know shit. I mean, they're just overacting in like simple terms. But there are also a lot of people who really know the subject, really know the procedures. They may struggle with their speech in the sense, not in terms of putting your thoughts out in a coherent manner, but they're really good with the subject. So ultimately, no matter, of course, language is very important, learning English, but it's also your understanding and how you're able to keep that coherence going and relevancy to whatever you're dealing with.
So you can't argue a case apart from English in
No,
the.
you
I
can.
was
You
about
can,
to
you
I was
can.
about to ask
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah, you should be able to.
in the lower courts, in the
District
lower
court
courts,
and stuff
district
like-
courts,
yeah.
the judge will talk to you in a local
Yeah, yeah.
language, and you should just be able to get on with that.
What about higher courts?
In the High Court and the Supreme Court, it's all in English.
You can't argue in like a regional or a regional language or
Nobody
any
will
other
stop
language.
you from doing that.
Hindi also, I think you can do. I think there are legal languages. I think certain ones which you can speak, but you can speak in the regional language also. I think.
The practices in the High Court and the Supreme Court, people speak in English, and in the lower courts, you speak in like
regional and stuff. like that.
in regional
Because I've been
languages.
to district courts and the judge speaks you in Telugu, the lawyer speaks in Telugu.
Yeah.
No one follows the language thing, but
Yeah.
higher you go, you have to follow certain rules and stuff. Yeah. And
That's right.
And so certain you see some YouTube videos I keep getting in between where in high court the judge will be shouting at a lawyer because he's chewing pan in middle of the court, like you're spoiling the
Sanctity or something.
decorum of this thing.
Yeah.
Go spit it out
Yeah.
and come. And,
Yeah.
So there's certain ethics that you need to
Yeah.
follow in high court and supreme court and all.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
And we're supposed to follow it everywhere.
And even if you're in even district court, right? I was sitting there, cross-legged, and some guy came running, lawyer saying, "No, please remove your legs.
Yeah, you can't put
can't
one
sit it
leg
like
on
that."
the other
yeah,
leg.
that was first
Yeah.
time in the court. I never been there. So they even in district courts, you need to follow certain rules and ethics. You can't look at your phones and sitting there while sitting there. Even if it's not your case, you're waiting your case. You can't just be looking on the phone and
Yeah.
stuff because the judge can pull you up for that also.
What would the judge do in a situation like that if you, let us say, don't follow the rules and regulations of the court?
They'll just call you out and throw you out. Unless it's very severe, they don't put you in contempt. But now in today's world, if we talk about phones and basic decorum that one has to maintain, there's a lot of things that are like it's difficult to control with everybody having a phone, having two phones, But more than that, I think it's about respecting what is happening there, what the judge is doing, because you're discussing somebody else's problem, somebody else's legal issue, right? So we have to be very careful when we are in that space, every single person. Yeah.
So one thing that I have is like whenever there's a case that is being argued, you have some people who are sitting, right, and they're kind of looking at the judge is probably not the judge, sorry, the lawyer is arguing against a counsel. If I may be, I don't know the technical term, but they kind of try to convince a bunch of people who are sitting यहाँ
Okay,
पे
so
और
that is
वहाँ
like
पे,
the
हाँ.
jury system in America.
Yeah,
Okay.
We
don't
don't have that in India. That's
We
a
used to have
different,
that until 1970s or something.
we don't have that in India, the jury system.
Could you say something about that, the pros and cons of it, and what do we have in India?
I would like to talk about what we have over here specifically is. So what we see in the movies is very dramatic. One person on the stand and the advocate questioning the person on the stands and the argument.
What I've seen is you barely have that much time.
That is like only a part of a proceedings, which is like the cross examination in a criminal case, where you ask a list of questions to the opposite like you have a witness and you ask questions, and you have to ask questions in a particular way. You cannot ask trick questions. Yeah.
So, for example, in the case I had, so the lawyer, the other lawyer, he asked the question. Then to trick us, he's asking the same question in a different way, and the judge pulled him up, saying, he actually they already answered. I understand what you're trying to
Yeah.
do. Just get on with it.
That's right.
Because they don't have time. They have so many cases. You can't just keep tricking the other person, saying, "Oh, you gave a different answer, so now you're caught." So basically, they like even the person. What's the person who's there who's always
The
typing?
steno, the
Transcriber.
typist.
Yeah, the typist. They now we have computers and all.
No, but there's still people who there's one person attached to the judge who types out everything.
So the
that
judge is like, no, remove that question from the don't type all that.
Yeah, because
So,
everything is recorded, right? And then the order is recorded, the judge's statements, and everything is.
so then they'll be like, no, please remove whatever question he's directing at us because I know what he's trying to do or what she's trying to do.
What is that guy called? Scrivner?
Steno.
Stenographer.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a book by Herman Melville. It's called Bartleby the something. It's called a Scrivener or something. Okay, so in that book, essentially, it's about a law firm, right? And they hire this guy, right, who's supposed to do that transcription or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
right? And yeah, I mean, of course, it's a fictitious world. And when they ask him to do anything, he says, "Okay, I will do it, but I prefer not to." And then he does it, and then he's like, "Okay, I will do it."
They're
And I
like
prefer
mostly
not to.
robots type. Right? They just type in whatever they're
Yeah.
saying. It's very boring job, I guess.
Boring, I don't know, but if you meet some people, like everybody doesn't get a chance to be a lawyer as well. Yeah, because I have had the chance to study in a good law institution, one of the premier law institutes, but there are a lot of people who have signed up for a course and they're doing it. They may not have access to a proper library or an environment where there's a lot of discussion, because it's not just sitting and reading books after books. It's discussing, it's participating in various things, it's having your faculty give you a lot of inputs, opening your mind and thought processes to a lot of things. So if you meet like somebody who's like a clerk in an office, in a law office, or if you meet somebody who's a steno, right, for them to be able to do that, and that only gets them closer to the whole system that's happening. And you'll meet a lot of people who are giving their law exams in the background, and they're like waiting to finish their law exam and then appear for the bar exam, and then so that is like a whole different little world. In fact, the High Court at Hyderabad has an association for the clerks, and they have like a separate canteen and everything for them, because they are in charge
That's
of
nice.
the filing and following up of the paperwork and things like that.
That's very nice, actually.
Well, actually, no. Coming back to your college course, like how was it designed that you had normal like classes where they're teaching theoretical stuff, but you also had like practicing practical stuff, and then
So we had like the standard classes where a faculty come and you have classes, you have these test papers, you have a thesis that you submit, you have a viva for whatever projects that you do. Every summer holidays, every break, winter break, summer break, I mean the you get like a month in December, and then you get like 2 months in like May, June. Everybody does an internship. It can be anywhere. It starts with like being a part of a organization for human rights. Like that's how it started for us. And then you join a law office, you join a law firm just for internships. And usually when you graduate, people really see how many internships you have done and what all you have worked on, how much you've really absorbed, right? And we also do something called moot courts, where there's a case and your faculty, or there's like a group of
it's like a mock. this
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah, like a mock trial, like a moot court, and then both sides have like a researcher, have like a counsel, and then it's like
It's like a
really
proper
fun.
case.
Yes. So you have like visiting faculty, or you have like eminent lawyers coming in from some law firms and law offices, and it's like a big event. And it's like within like university versus university, or multiple universities
So
participating.
this moot court it's called. So is it also a recruiting way people can recruit you? For example, these partners, they can, for example, you've done a great job in 2-3 moot courts, and then this law partner comes, he's like really impressed by. Is that a way also people get recruited
I
sometimes.
haven't seen that or heard from anybody. Just because I haven't seen that or heard doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But what I feel is when you graduate law school, you are learning so much, and then there's a whole different chapter that starts once you graduate. You may have 100 internships to your name. Of 100 is like unreasonable. You may have like 10 internships over 5 years, but that may not really. It depends on what you've really done with your internships, right? How much you've taught and done, and there are some people who like say take only tax law firms internships and build on that knowledge, build on that knowledge. But then
Specialization, basically.
yes, and then there's some people who do like varied types of internships to see really what they like or what is working for them, you know. So really after you graduate and you join a law office or you join a corporate or a firm, anything, it's like a new experience, like a new thing that's happening. Because
Okay, so you said varied. So where does all the like, how does law branch out into everybody's space? Like in general business or general life of people, like where does it all branch out to? I know back in the day, ki lawyers do if they want to go into the corporate structure, they finish 5 years of LLB and then they do something called company secretary to, follow the money. So I never understood what
so
that was.
company secretary is this program by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, like how they have like an institute for CAs where you do these set of exams and then you do this articleship with a CS for like 14 months. Maybe the timelines have changed, I'm not sure. In fact, I too have done CS like the first two levels, only the exam bit. And then it is every company needs to have a company secretary who can also oversee
Correct.
legal, everything legal and accounting. So one thing is to clear examinations and have that qualification, that added advantage and knowledge, and another thing is to actually pursue that line, because you'll see a lot of people who've cleared CA exams but haven't really pursued that line to become full CAs, just to give you an idea. So with law, it's not like कि 5 years पढ़ लिया या LLM कर लिया and then done. You're like learning, reading with everything. You cannot say today I'm done, so that's the end of it. It's always, you need to keep, like adding more to your library, to your knowledge
Yeah,
base with that.
keep learning.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, as you said, branching out in terms of law, like that's probably, I'm thinking there's something like there's criminal law,
There's family
and
law,
then there's family
civil.
law, and all. What then there's corporate law. I don't know if corporate law also has sub branches, right? But mostly when it comes to law, again, if you watch a lot of movies, you only see like criminal law sort of a thing,
Yeah.
right? But could you just talk about those other aspects of law which
Yes.
we get to see that are more realistic and not just law means criminal law?
So what happens is when you graduate and you join an office, you join a litigation office that has cases going on in all different types of courts. So you have some tax law related, you have, for example, GST related matters, you have some matters in the consumer forum, you have it in the criminal court, you have it in the civil court. Civil court may there family matters. Civil court, criminal courts, like different court complexes with different portfolios, like different matters go in different courts. And I think as a fresher, when you join, there are a lot of people who say, I want to do only intellectual property, I want to do only trademarks. It doesn't work that way. You got to spend some time, at least 2-3 years. I know, like, even I was not happy hearing this, ki you just got to, like, put your nose to the grindstone first 2 years and just work on it. But it gives you like an idea of exactly what is happening in the work, gives you a practical taste of it, because it's never what you've studied in college or done reading, but it's practically what you're doing out there in the court, in the office. It's also about being able to really be consistent. Are you willing to sit there and deal with people meeting you day in and day out, going to the court? Sometimes the matters reach, sometimes they don't, right? So you have to really experience every type of uh, case, I would say, or every type of legal issue that comes up. Yeah.
Okay, so in the orbit of Hyderabad or in the orbit of Indian law, what's like the hot topic? What's top three?
Land.
So I'll tell you, in the middle, what happened is we got this a metro project in Hyderabad. So if you think about the metro, what happened? wherever they're putting out the metro lines in Hyderabad, there are a lot of people who had to they had to widen roads, and because they widened roads, it affected a lot of shops, houses, educational institutions, whatever that can line a metro line road. And over there, naturally, there'll be disputes coming up. Of course, the government will compensate you for that land, but there'll be disputes coming up, na?
So we were talking about the
The
metro
metro
land,
scenario, right? So very practical. You were asking me about.
the
So I was giving you
cases.
an example, right? So what happened with the metro line? So there was a lot of compensation, a lot of cases to deal with, road widening issues, and multiple things. So you can only imagine like how that must have like rolled over the years. You've seen how much Hyderabad Metro has come up, and in fact, there were plans of metro in Charminar, and there were
Again, it's still again back on track after Congress came back.
So if you see na practically, if I am from Hyderabad and I go stand in front of Charminar, I'm like, ये metro कहाँ से आएगा?
There's no place.
So as a lawyer, I will see बहुत काम लगेगा ये metro इधर लगाने के लिए, right? Permissions, a lot of, I mean, L&T will have to do so many checks, left, right, and center. The amount of people staying there, the historical value. If we talk only about Charminar,
Yeah.
but
And also I was just thinking back to the people living there. They don't really care about law. Like I don't think half of them have ever paid the electricity bills in the last 15 years. So I don't think law is going to stop them from the old city
I had
residents.
no
Oh,
idea.
absolutely,
15
absolutely.
years they didn't pay
No,
electricity
no,
bills.
the electricians are scared to. The government is scared to even collect, make bills there because they won't pay. No one has even checked the meters in the last 15, 20 years. So
Oh,
law is not
wow.
going to be an obstacle for them. They won't let, if they don't want it to happen, they
It
won't
won't
let it
happen.
happen.
It
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
won't happen.
apparently Adani is trying to collect 600 crores worth of electricity bills. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I don't know if unless and until you really have like a political will, right, to see to it that a metro is like, let's say, constructed, or some development has to essentially come to old city. You need like proper political will.
Radical
Otherwise,
will.
it's radical.
But you can say a Gujarati can get it done. For some reason, I feel a Gujarati can get it done.
Yeah, I mean, you're just saying it because right now our prime minister is
No.
Okay,
Just because
that
of
it could be okay.
the business mentality that
Business
Gujaratis
mentalities
have, like they'll
Ah,
negotiate some amount.
yeah,
Maybe not the
okay.
600 crores. At least he'll get like 300 or even 100 crores. कुछ ना कुछ दे दे रे भाई, like you know. But you never know. चिच्चा के पास पैसे नहीं निकलते नहीं. Yeah, who knows?
हाँ, वो भी सही है, हाँ.
Now, coming back to your journey again. So, how did you get your first job coming out of college? Was it through internship,
so I'll
converting?
tell you my story. So I was a part of the third batch of my law school. The campus wasn't even ready and it's very new. So we didn't have probably seniors to look out to who'll say this law firm, this place, that place. Usually, what do you do when you're in an institution?
Reach out to
You always talk to your seniors who you've chilled with in college, and then they will tell you, this is a good option, this is a good line. If you want some experience, chalo, I'll get you an internship in my office or firm or whatever. But our seniors were still finding their feet, right? And they have been extremely supportive over the years, and a lot of people also have appeared for the judicial services exams. So to become a judge, JCJ, uh, junior, like, you need to do this exam, which is, so you have the IAS, you have the judiciary, and you have like the defense, when you try to get into the defense forces. So it's in the same lines, the exam.
What is the exam called?
It's called the judiciary exams. Every state has their own exam, right? And they have their own syllabus. But coming back to what we were talking about, so our seniors were guiding us with whatever. For me personally, the story was different. I knew that I don't want to be a lawyer practicing in the court, right? I decided that. I had done my internships in my final semester of law school. The last 6 months, we had to spend those 6 months doing, each of us were assigned to one lawyer, and we were also put in groups with a lawyer in practicing in the district courts. And there I had enough experience, and I knew this isn't for me, right? I personally don't want to get into litigation, and I wanted to learn what it is to be a lawyer, going to court, drafting, learning the procedures. I personally felt if I've studied LLB, then I should know what to do, how to do, because I very well knew it that people are going to come to me and say, okay, we have this issue, what to do, guide us, who to go to,
Like
you know.
anyone who studied doctor, like, what do I need?
Exactly.
What medicine do I
And it
need?
started happening to me when I was in third year itself. So I could only see what was coming after fifth year. But apart from that, if I've done a 5-year LLB, I should know what it is to be a lawyer. So I enrolled with the bar, I did the exam, and I was supposed to start practicing in Bombay, get attached to a lawyer who's practicing the High Court and other courts. But my grandfather, very sweet, he said we have a High Court in Hyderabad also. And in a week, the next thing I know is my grandfather's friend. I mean, they were all like 90 at the time. My grandfather, his friend, and his friend drove me down to this lawyer's office and said, okay, so and so's granddaughter is here, Dr. E.V. Chari's granddaughter. She just graduated and baat ho gayi. And the next thing I know is after 10 days, I'm going to join that office. And I spent some time in that office, learning what the procedures are, really physically sweating it out morning to night in the courts, morning to evening in the
It's
courts, and
very
then in the
hot in
night.
the whole
Yeah,
road and
only
stuff.
the court halls in the high court have ACs.
Yeah.
Other places don't have ACs, lower courts.
Yeah.
And yeah, that probably that is your last concern. So as a fresher, when you join, you are enrolled, you're wearing a coat, you're wearing your robe, your coat gown, but you are also taking copies in the library for your senior, you're also carrying the file bag, you're just following your senior around for like months, and you learn a lot within that. Everything is a new day, right? Even for somebody who is having an ongoing case in the court, right, the number of times they keep visiting, it's just your experience, you're picking up on what is what and what is not. There's another thing which you had asked me a question earlier, right, is what made you choose this. So I think sometimes I get confused about it, is sometimes you do something so frequently, you get good at it, and then you start liking it. And it's another thing to fancy something and say I want to do this, or I want to become something, or become like probably a really fancy lawyer who protects the environment. And it's one thing to decide that and really follow that till the end, have that pursuit till the end, and it's another thing to just do something till you get better at it. You get what I'm saying?
So in other
Yeah.
words, you did it, and over time you kind of understood that, hey, I'm liking what I'm kind of like doing because I'm good at it, and then you
So
kind of came to that realization.
as that familiarity increased, naturally things became slightly easier than before. But for me personally, I didn't want to get into that advocacy, that litigation. And then my interest went to dealing with contracts, drafting agreements, all sorts of agreements. If you think about anything, there will be an existing agreement, any business, any transaction, anything that we have today. So that is where my interest went to from. So I graduated, I joined a law office. I told you how my grandfather, and then after a certain amount of experience, and then I changed, and then I wanted to do my master's. And then I thought to myself, I don't want to do a master's. I don't want to again study for 2 years and then wonder. Because again, that's the point at which I was like, I may choose a subject, but I don't know if it's going to be the same practicing working with that. I may enjoy reading cases of trademarks and copyrights, for example, intellectual property, but I may not be willing to sit down going through tons of paperwork when I'm a lawyer dealing with a case for somebody. So it's not always do what you enjoy or enjoy what you do in this situation for me. Yeah.
So that's when you shifted to corporate.
So what happened with me is I wanted to work independently, branch out independently. What happens is people don't really warm up to the idea of a young advocate who still doesn't have an office, who still doesn't have an office with books in the background and a huge table,
You need to sit in front of the goat
and
under a
have
tree.
like a and have like a like, and अब coming to that, so they will say कि ठीक है ये 10,000 क्यों 8,000 में कर दो, ये दूसरा आदमी तो मेरे को 5,000 में कर दे रहा है. I need a steady income, right? I don't come from that background where my somebody in my family, mom, dad, or a brother or a sister having an existing law practice, right? So again, there is a misconception. Oh, his dad is a lawyer, he'll be fine. Of course, you are able to learn much more, much faster, because you're not wasting time with taking a printout, standing somewhere to get something stamped, because you have people to do that. You have like people in the office to support you with these things in the background. But somebody who is taking up the office for their family has to really perform and live up to that reputation, that expectation, that so this person is so and so's son or daughter, and they need to like he must be really good, because his parents or his grandparents or whoever are having like a brilliant practice, a brilliant standing in the court. So you have that like performance pressure. Well, if I had the advantage of making mistakes and nobody knowing who I am or where I came from, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the or grass is greener on the other side or whatever. So from the outside, it looks like, oh, this is nepotism, or they come from a lawyer family.
Yeah.
So they should be lucky. Uska to life set hai.
Yeah.
Right. And then from the inside, it's like, if your parents come from are very well off, okay, and do their job, okay, at the best elite level, then there's pressure on you that you also be that good.
Yes. In fact, one of my closest friends from law school sucked at all his exams, flunked at everything, but is running a brilliant practice today, taken up his father's office. Now his dad leaves everything to him, and he is managing the clients, managing the interns, managing the filing, the multiple cases, going to different cities and high courts, handling everything here. So even if he's gone on holiday, he'll be back 2 days before, he'll be in the office. What are the upcoming matters? What are the filings? He kind of like changed the whole firm's branding. So you cannot solicit or advertise that I'm a lawyer and like come to me. That's not allowed. But
Oh, that's not allowed?
no, you
Legally?
can't.
Oh, okay.
You can't have like a board saying that I will handle this for so and so. You cannot solicit.
But I remember
you
seeing
guys don't
boards
have a
like this.
rate card for like on display.
Yeah.
But
In simple terms.
why is it illegal for lawyers to solicit?
That's just how the profession is, and that's what the bar council rules are.
Because it's not very
So if you see
gentlemanly
how the profession started from the beginning, it's considered one of the most
Noble,
noble
yes.
professions, because you're speaking for somebody, you're fighting for somebody, and the person will be distressed. So if you see like the robes that advocates wear, they have like little pocket sort of a thing hanging at the back. So it's hanging at the back because then the person who you've fought for in court will put a little money in it for you, and you
Oh,
don't know how much money
that's how
they
it
put in
started.
it.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe this is one way of, I haven't really gone in depth, but these are the little things that we pick up, these little stories from our seniors. And also you can't solicit. But I was talking about my friend, so he really jazzed up the office. He got interns, he got like additional resources, he's been handling the whole office. His wife is also a lawyer, and he is under performance pressure, and it's no joke, but he is living up to it. And a lot of people will say, अरे उनका बेटा तो कर रहा है, but वो कर रहा है, right?
It's
कैसे
very
कर रहा
hard.
है? He's also under tremendous tension. And coming to what you were talking about, jhaad ke niche lawyers and everything. So if you go to a district court and you see a bench and you see a lawyer there, you may just see a bench and that lawyer, but you don't know how much money that man is making, what he's doing, And people who do notary, they are not the reject lawyers that people assume them to be. They need to have a 5 years practice, and then they have to give an exam which they clear, and then they are eligible to
Be a notary.
yes, to notarize the
Oh wow.
documents.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I never considered them failures, but I didn't know they had to have that that much background to.
And in
use
fact,
it.
I think more than joining a big law firm or a big office, you have to join a considerably smaller office where there's a lot of work, where you are given work that you can just deal with, where there's nobody else to help you. So you're really on your own. It's like driving a car. You'd learn with a driving instructor. You'll be very careful. If I mess up, there'll be somebody. But if you take your car out without your parents knowing and you're driving around, this is your responsibility. I can't get this shit wrong. And that's how you really learn. Yeah.
very very A lot of insights and perspectives about how, like, you're dispelling the myths about law and about how we think it is, how we think it essentially functions. Like, for example, notary. People generally look, notary, but then you're like, these guys are not reject lawyers.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So coming full circle, I think the last question, if you're almost done for time, I guess, is about the intersection of law and anthropology, or law and
Yeah.
culture, and in the sense that we all have an innate sense of justice or something like that in us,
Yeah.
right? And then you have law that kind of turns it into a profession, into a formal practice, as
Yeah.
you said, a noble one. So how does that kind of, like, play across different cultures, and would you like to say something
So
about that?
yeah, definitely. Like, let me bring something into perspective, which is very practical.
And that exam last cut thing
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
achieved, this
I'll
and that,
yeah.
those,
We
let's,
end the
yeah.
podcast with the
Yeah, it's gonna be
funny.
hilarious. It's something that you all will laugh at me, but I'm confident enough to say. But yeah, coming back to what you were talking about. Now let's be very practical about it, right? So we have the legal system, we have courts, we have everything. And then you have something like mob justice, which is absolutely ridiculous. But sometimes when you know someone has committed a crime, you just want to, like, kill that person. But who is to decide if it's a crime or not? So we had like this quote in college above the registrar's room. It says, "Be you ever so high, the law is above you." Yeah, if you Google it, you'll know who is given that quote out. But coming back to that, so we have like the whole legal system and everything, and we have these principles of justice where every person has the right to be heard, and every person has the right to you are guilty only when it's proved that you're guilty. Na? You're not guilty
Innocent
throughout the.
unless proven guilty. But we live in a world where it's guilty
Guilty unless
unless
Now,
proven
coming to his
innocent.
question, in India, if you take for example, or if you compare like societies in the world, right? There are certain similarities and there are certain differences. So, probably if there's a lady who doesn't want to get married, she's outcasted. But our legal system has that provision where you cannot be forced to get married, you have to be of a legal age, you can get a divorce. There are a lot of things, right? And in India, there are child marriage. In India, you have cases where people are forced to have children. And there's like the whole this thing where people who are educated and from more cushy backgrounds will say, "Oh, it's my wish what I do, what I don't do." But everybody doesn't have that privilege, unfortunately. Yeah, it's not about money, it's also about the society you grow up in. So you may be like a absolutely well off, wealthy person, but you'll still be under that underlying pressure to, do certain things that please those invisible
society.
societal laws and rules that exist, right? So you have like how, so if you see some movies, they have these panchayats that are absolutely stupid, the decisions that they make. On
Yeah.
what basis?
The, like, village panchayats.
Yes.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right,
are you able
right.
to
Huh.
relate to what I'm talking about?
Right,
So we
right.
have the legal system, everything there, and then here they will decide whatever they want to decide. Another thing is, I cannot even like punch somebody. It's like assault.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not allowed. But you see so many people beating each other, killing each other, right? And the trial for those are also very extreme and grave, right? And nobody realizes what what a crime actually is. A crime is against the whole state. It's not against an individual, right? So if you see any case, like, this is like very basic info for lawyers, but I thought you guys should know that you see any criminal case, it's so and so versus the state. It's never versus an individual,
Correct. Yeah.
right? So I had studied this in law school, and I was filing a memo in the court, and I wrote so and so versus so and so. I forgot to write the state.
State.
And the judge lost her shit and she threw it on me. And I was like, "Oh, shit, so embarrassing." And then my friend said, "This is how you learn. This
Yeah,
is
you'll never
this
do
is
it
something
again.
you'll never forget." And the judge sees potential in you, so they've lost their temper on you, right? And you need this. So before a judge, you may be a senior, you may be a junior, you may be a very experienced advocate, but everybody gets it if you mess up, right? That's what I wanted to talk about. Like, if you want to go more into uh, uh, legal anthropology, then do you have anything particularly that you wanted to ask
No,
about?
this actually completely informs my question of
Yeah.
this thing and gives
Yeah.
me a lot of stuff to do. And could you also stuff to actually read and maybe from a layman's perspective for people who don't know law, right? If somebody wants to understand it to a certain extent because and not just get it from movies or something,
Yeah.
would you like? Is there any popular law book? There's a lot of popular science books, right? I get that, but there's not a lot of popular law books. Or is law itself as a
I think in today's world, what is easy is if you read a Bare Act. What is a Bare Act? It gives you the sections and it gives you what the act is, what the legislation actually is. And you should read the Bare Act of every law that you have. Now, if you look at Motor Vehicles Act, you can't transport goods from your dukan to your ghar in your car. It's not allowed. You have to have it in a carrier and all. How many people know it?
For example, when me and Pranshu bought a computer,
Yeah.
do you remember?
Yeah.
All the system and everything. And they're like, we found out that we need to have everything, all the, what is it called? The transport invoice.
Logistics.
We can't just take it and go
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way.
So the law exists, right? And
sorry, go on. I just want to
the law exists. Ignorance is not an excuse, but they're and the law is very inclusive. If you see our Indian laws that we have, because that's what I've majorly worked in so far, very, very inclusive. There's something for everybody to protect and cover them. There's nothing that will leave you out where you don't have a legal recourse for something, right? So if you really have that inclination to read, then maybe probably pursuing a course also just for the sake of learning more is also good.
Absolutely.
So going back to books, I would say Bare Acts to understand what the law is, and then their commentaries, like eminent personalities in the legal field who have written their interpretation of the law with various cases that have been landmark cases. So, for example, I have this book, 10 Judgments That Changed India. This is probably something every law student would have, and this is what my aunt gave me when I was in my second year of law school, and I still have it. And I was kind of greedy because my librarian asked me to like give a lot of my law books to the library, but I kept like 50% of them, and I still have copies of the Constitution, and I have like family laws, I have labor laws, I have like a lot of books, because at some point you need to know where to look, right? And for me, I like to look at books. Everything is available online. Even if you like just Amazon, look on Amazon or Google it. These days, it's so easy to find a lot of reading material. And as you get into it, you know what to read.
And I always imagine lawyers, right? Whenever you see in movies and other sets, also, like when you sit on a lawyer's table, behind there'll be like thousands of books.
So they are, those are the AIR manuals that have all the cases from different high courts, and year-wise they
And you have to
segregated.
reference it also because you find references.
Precedents. Like when you're making a case, you add those precedents, and then you say, yeah, this is what happened in this case, and so based on this case, I'm arguing this, and then that's like the whole this thing. Yeah. So what else was there?
I think that it was a very good, coming to the end of the podcast. I think it was very informative. We learned a lot. I will just end on the funny note because story.
So I gave my law entrance exam. Now I don't know which college to join, what to do. My mom said, okay, there's this common law admission test that you can take, and there are something called national law universities in India. And I went and I gave the test. And that's the first time I just gave the exam. No preparation, nothing. I was going to this coaching and everything, but I was just having fun with my coaching mates. We did everything except
study.
Study. Okay. And he was with me in that coaching. But yeah, so
You also.
at
Yeah,
least
that's when I met Chinti like after school.
yeah, like I
So you
saw
wanted
him.
to be like you follow your mother's footsteps and
I-
become a
I
lawyer.
went to-
My mom put me in
He
there.
came with me to Vizag admission ke liye. We were on the same train in the same club guest house for the same thing, and he's like, "Ye chale gaya," because maybe he wanted to do something else. And he
that
saw
should
the
be another
seniors. He
podcast
said, "I
episode
could
as to
see
why
only
you
my."
did not choose law.
Yeah.
He said, "I was looking at the seniors. I was only seeing my head in the commode, so I went back."
Straight up, dude. I walked into that hostel and I imagined myself, my head is going to be dipped into that commode. Oh shit! I gotta get the hell out of here. So that's
So you went back because you were scared that you would be
fucking coward
bullied.
I was. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's fine. You would be bullied. You were scared that you'd be bullied.
I mean, we all were bullied, but just divulging a little bit, like studying any course, any program, it's one thing to sit and study at home. It's another thing to be in an institution, in that environment with people really living it. You don't have to be reading, studying, reading. That is important. But your environment also plays a big role. So this is why people kill to be a part of certain institutions, because they have certain traditions, they have certain rituals that come up over the years, and the way of doing things. So I mean, I really enjoyed my 5 years. My friends are like my family now, my law school friends. I don't know what my life would have been if I didn't know them. Yeah, and surviving that, doing your exams on time, taking care of yourself, going through sickness, dealing with some very difficult faculty, it's all part
Part
and
of
parcel.
life. Yeah.
And the network you create, this is what I didn't mention earlier. Being a lawyer, you need to have a network, you need to have people skills. In any field you need it, but especially for a practicing lawyer, you got to see how many contacts he's got in his phone. And I'm not saying contact with the judge, the contact with the notary person, with the clerk, with the steno, with the clients. If you can't get to a court on a certain day, you call your friend, you say, are you in that court? Can you please fill in for me for that one day? So it's a network that you have to maintain. Yeah. Now, coming back to the exam. So I gave that exam, and 7 out of 10 words are liability. And I don't know what the hell liability word means.
No shit.
I just don't know what the hell the word liability means. And exam de diya, ho gaya. My parents are waiting outside with the car, and I'm like, kaisa tha? I was like, awesome. And then I told these guys, I said, Arey, I don't know what the hell that word liability meant. I told the whole world I did a great job at the exam.
Is this the exam that we wrote?
Yeah, I told you, I don't think you recall, but for a person doing like logic, reasoning, everything, not knowing what liability means, and for an avid reader like me who also did those coaching classes, I never paid attention, but it was like hilarious. It was nonsense.
Yeah.
I waited till I graduated and did things for a few years till I actually spoke about it. Otherwise, it's like very embarrassing.
And when you got to know what a liability meant, how did you?
I was like, now I will join Baju Galli College करके लगा मेरे को. Yeah, but it turned out fine. It turned out fine, and things happen like this. Really, it's
Works as long as it works out, right?
yeah.
But next time look at words like liability.
Yeah, and we actually went for logic.
But
and
what did you
reasoning.
really think during the exam? What do you think liability was?
Full logic reasoning मैंने कर दिया. Whatever was my reason and logic is what I did.
No, but what did you
What
think that
was
word
your
meant?
what did you think liability meant?
I was looking at it without that word,
You
without that
just
word
skipped that word.
existing.
Then and there.
I do not know the meaning of this
Django.
word. I shall
It
not
doesn't
be
exist.
aware of it. It doesn't
I will
exist.
not consider it. I don't
Yes.
care.
Was that exam an OMR sheet?
Yeah.
Oh,
He remembers the exam now.
yeah. We went to Nalsar actually. We went all the way to
And the
Nalsar.
pressure of your parents waiting outside,
Yeah.
driving you down
all the way to Nalsar.
Shamirpet.
The mothers like Francis become going
In
to follow.
summer, that exam used to be in summer,
Yeah,
April, May.
peak summer. mein, Yeah.
Yeah.
His mother would be even like, Francis will take up my office. He's going to be the next lawyer for my family. And he comes out like, yeah, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore.
Shame. All right. So, ending this podcast, do you want to leave our guests and viewers with something like a quote?
Who wants to be, like, imagine someone who wants to be the lawyer.
I think
So what
I
do you
would
say?
say, like, don't decide कि मेरे को यही करना है, ऐसे ही करना है. You never know what will stumble across your way and how that will guide you and how you will be drawn to something, right? So just go with the flow and enjoy it. Make sure you're making good friends in college, because that will take you a long way. You have to have a very pure intention with what you do,
Yeah.
And some things get done just because you got a good friend. Nothing in the world will make that happen. What your good friend will do for you because you're a friend.
That is like one of the wisest things that, No,
I mean, I am living by
that's a
it. I'm
very
living with
important-
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That is what I would say. And I'm sure you guys agree too, because in your own fields also, I'm sure
Yeah.
this is like 100% relevant.
Absolutely.
So we'd wrap with that. Okay. Let's wrap with that and let's.
Thanks,
what do we
Soumya,
do?
for
Thank you.
informative session.
Soumya.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
so
I was
much for
scared
hosting
you all will
us.
ask me like
What is law?
difficult things and all that. So
What is section 143?
What is emotion? What is commotion?
I thought
Anyways.
you'll ask me something like
What
that.
is section 97.A.B.1.2?
Are you a lawyer? Name every law ever.
Yeah, that was nice. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, folks.
With that
Thank you
said,
so
I'm-
much. Bye bye.
Thank you.